To strike the last word, I'd like to speak about the Race for Children Act. All of us here today have something in common. We represent children and patients and children who are fighting cancer without cures. The reality is there is far less drugs being made to help these children get better. Along with Chairman McCall and Congressman Butterfield, I want to reiterate my support for the Race for Children Act, which aims to fix the lack of cancer drugs available for children. Race for Children puts safety first and assures that researchers use scientific evidence when declaring effectiveness of a drug and especially before providing it to patients. Since I last spoke about this bill, we've made changes to the bill that makes the bill even stronger. Our efforts have been bipartisan. We've taken industry, stakeholder, and FDA input into our legislation, and we're working along all the players here to come up with an agreement to get the bill passed and signed into law. It is our hope to have the Race for Children Act included during floor consideration of this bill, and we will continue to work toward that goal. I look forward to working with Congressman Butterfield and my colleagues on this committee to get the race passed for every child, hoping for life-saving cancer treatments. And I thank the chairman. I want to yield the remainder of my time to Chairman Burgess.
Well, I thank the gentleman for yielding, and Congressman Mullin, I want to thank you for your work and the work of our colleague Michael McCall and Representative Butterfield on this important initiative. Members of this committee have a longstanding commitment to incentivizing and speeding medical innovation, and Chairman Walden and I are dedicated to working with you on the Race for Children Act before this bill goes to the floor. There is no cause more worthy than increasing the number of safe and effective treatments available to children battling cancer, and I wanted to assure you that we are dedicated to advancing policy that will accomplish just that goal. I yield back to the gentleman from Oklahoma.
I want to yield some time to my colleague, Congressman Butterfield.
I'd like to claim my own time if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Then I yield the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back to remainder of his time. Chair, actually, I need to recognize Ms. Carolina, Mr. Butterfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike the last word. First, let me start, Mr. Chairman, by thanking Mr. Mullin and Mr. Bilirakis for their kind words, but more importantly, thank them both for their passion on these issues. I am proud, Mr. Chairman, to represent a remarkable young man who was treated at Duke University Medical Center in my district. His name is Hunter Piotrowski. Hunter is 14 years old, and all of us, many of us, have had 14-year-old children. Hunter is 14 years old and was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He had a stroke and then beat his brain cancer. Hunter should have been playing basketball, swimming, enjoying life with his friends. Instead, he underwent multiple daily radiation treatments and 4 rigorous chemotherapy treatments. No child should have to endure such pain. I pray that Hunter's health continues to improve, and we can and must do better. In 2012, as part of the last FDA user fee agreement, I put forward the Creating Hope Act Pediatric Priority Review Voucher Bill to address the scarcity of drug development for children with life-threatening illnesses. And I'm proud to say today that Congress passed the Creating Hope Act in 2012 as part of the last FDA user fee agreement and reauthorized it last year as part of the 21st Century Cures Act. Today, I am committed to alleviating the plight of sick children like Hunter with the Research to Accelerate Cures and Equity for Children Act, a bill with strong bipartisan support that has 8 members of this committee as co-sponsors. The Race for Children Act would update the Pediatric Research Equity Act so that companies developing novel and promising cancer drugs would develop those drugs for children with cancer. As we move away from chemotherapy to molecular targeted drugs, this legislation would help provide treatments to already treatable cancers that would represent a huge improvement in standard of care and improve long-term outcomes for survivors. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, that we cannot adopt the Race for Children Act today. I, along with Chairman Mike McCall and Congressman Mullin, and our staffs continue to work in a bipartisan and bicameral way to finalize language that will be consistent between the 2 chambers. Mr. Walden and the Ranking Member Pallone, this bill is a good policy. Repeat, Chairman Walden and Mr. Pallone, this bill is a good policy. It makes sense, and it will help children living with cancer to have the best chance at a long and happy life. I ask that you and your staffs continue to work with me and the other sponsors to work these differences out and get this bill to the floor and to get it to the floor soon. This time, I would like to yield my remaining time to my ranking member, Mr. Pallone.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Butterfield. I want to thank you, Ms. Eshoo, and Mr. Mullin for their support and tireless work on policies to support and encourage the development of critical and promising treatments for children. I know there continues to be interest from these members and from stakeholders for reforms to strengthen the Pediatric Research Equity Act and the Best Pharmaceuticals for Children Act, including how we can ensure that companies that are developing promising cancer treatments are also studying these treatments in pediatric populations as well. These are policy goals that I know members of this committee and across the Capitol support. I'm committed to working with our members as well as industry and other stakeholders to find a consensus on how we can best ensure that drugs are studied and labeled appropriately for use in children, and I hope we can engage in a bipartisan process to reach this goal moving forward. I yield back to the gentleman from North Carolina.
Words, I yield back unless someone else needs any time.